Thank you, Dr. Lorden, for that introduction. Hello, board. Nice to see you again. My name is Luke Middlebrook. I'm the Needs Assessor for the Lakeside Unified School District and Technology Integration. Over the past 8 weeks, my team and I had developed a needs assessment for what our district needs to make sure that Lakeside stays in the forefront of technology integration and educational leadership in our community and in our nation. What we have found is that we have two different varying pictures within our district. In the primary grades, we have grades 2, 3, and 4, which have 1-to-1 iPad ratios, and grades K through 5, which have a smartboard, and teachers are using technology integration that students, when they leave 5th grade, they think, they say, they do technology. Teachers think, say, and do technology when they teach their lessons, incorporating technology. The primary grades are great. We can leave the primary grades alone, and they would still function as one of the models for communities around us. When we look at our secondary grades, we see a completely different picture, though. There's a smartboard in every class, but there's little to no other tech. The other problem is that the smartboards in the room, teachers are not using them. So what we saw is that we need to bring more tech into 6, 7, and 8. And the plan we are about to do is a 3-year rollout for an 8-year plan. So 5 years of using the tech that we have after this 3-year rollout. So this 3-year rollout involves a 1-to-1 MacBook Air to student ratio. So every student is going to have their own laptop. And the way we do this is because based on Education Code 10400, we have to use all the resources available to us to make sure that our education systems are at the best they can be. After talking with stakeholders, we noticed that they were giving us feedback that when their student leaves 5th grade and go to 6th grade, there's a complete difference. There's no technology. It's like we're moving backwards. So we're going from a very progressive standpoint of education, making sure that students know technology, to a very traditional standpoint when we go to textbook, paper, and they don't even use technology. So after listening to the stakeholders and the community in assessing Education Code 10400, we know that we have to improve our educational technology systems to make sure they're the best they can be. So the policy we have is every student is going to either A, bring a device from home, which is going to cost the district nothing, and that allows students who do not want to use our device and have to pay for an insurance premium to bring their own device, and that allows for every student to have a device. And we're going to change the policy for the school that allows for this huge technology integration. We're going to have students bring stuff in to make sure that it's most adaptive for the student. But with that, on Government Code 1135, we cannot discriminate based on class. So students who have a free and reduced lunch may not have access to technology. They may not have access to a laptop or an iPad or a tablet that they can bring to the school. So with that, that's why we chose to purchase the tech itself, to have a 1-to-1 1-to-1 MacBook Air ratio, so we can avoid the discrimination of students who cannot afford their own tech, but also allow for students that can afford it to save us the money where they can just bring their own device. How it's going to look is every student who uses our device will pay a $40 premium. That $40 premium will go to an insurance provider to pay for the insurance in the device. We have 350 8th graders at TDS and LMS, so we're going to have about 700 students who need devices this year. So if everyone pays $40, that will pay for the insurance fund as well. But what we noticed is we don't want to discriminate against the students who have free and reduced lunch. They will not be required to pay a $40 fee, as well as others who sign out saying they cannot, it's a financial hardship to afford the $40. So that is the kind of the policy we're going with, is that every student can bring their own device, and the policy of non-discrimination based on financial hardship. The next thing we're going to do, the fiscal analysis. So how are we going to fund this process of making sure that we can get this tech into the room? November 4th, we had the Prop L get approved, which allows for $31 million worth of bonds to be sold by our district. But the stipulation is that we cannot use it for administrative salaries. Pretty much any teacher salary cannot be funded by Prop L. The only things that Prop L can fund is technology and facilities upgrades. Dr. Laura Spencer has already approved some upgrades for our technology integration, which is great. We have some other projects going on facilities that the facility committee will be able to talk to you about. But Dr. Laura Spencer has already approved for hardware and software technology to be integrated into every single site within the district. Every single site at the end of February, so starting March 1st, the project will be completed that will allow for 1 gig per second of bandwidth. So the bandwidth and internet speed will be 10 times faster than it is now. So that's going to be a complete shift, and that is getting funded through Prop L because it's a facilities upgrade. What this will do is going to allow every single student on the site to be able to use a device at one time. We need this because we know we're transitioning to this level where sooner or later every student in the district is going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, but before we get there we want to make sure that all the sites have the internet access. So we're building from the foundation, the hardware first, and then we're going to start adding the devices. So before we even get technology integrated to the site, every site will have access to high-speed internet. And that actually comes from school code. Excuse me, let me see if I can find my notes. That comes from school code 11800, which is high-speed network and high-speed bandwidth, coming from section 6, article 1X. So that's how we are funding that. We're following the ed code of, once again, 11800 for high-speed wireless internet in our schools. So the fiscal analysis. How we're going to break this down is we don't want to spend all this money at one point from our Prop L. We know that we want to be able to assess the data to make sure that when we integrate something, it is effective, and we know if we need to make some changes for the next year. We know that if we just push technology onto our teachers and our students, it will be a complete culture shock for the entire school, and it won't be as effective as we want it to be. So the plan we have is to do a 3-year rollout on technology for the entire school. How it's going to look, as I previously stated, 350 8th graders per site exist in our district. So with LMS and TDS, there's about 700 8th graders. Every one of those 8th graders will be getting a MacBook Air. The 7th and 6th graders will not be getting tech this year. So starting in 2015, every 8th grader will have a device. They walk in school, here's your device, or they bring their own device to school. 7th graders and 6th graders are not going to be allowed to bring their own devices to school because we want to make sure that we build the foundation on teaching the teachers how to use it. We don't want a discrimination where some students can afford to bring the device and other students can't. So that's why 7th and 6th graders will not be able to bring tech, but 8th graders will be able to bring their own tech to the classroom to avoid discrimination for some students who can afford it. So the first year we're going to buy 700 MacBook Airs. Based on the education pricing we can get from Apple, about $700. 700 MacBooks times 700 students is $490,000. And that comes from Prop L, so we don't have to take that from LCFF funding. So $490,000 is coming from Prop L to pay for just the devices alone for this year. We're allocating $10,000 to a sustainability project, which goes to the insurance that we previously talked about, as well as staff training. We know that our teachers are not trained in how to integrate tech into the classroom, so what we want to do is make sure that when they get students who know how to use and have the laptop, that they are comfortable using it. How it's going to look. Over the next 6 months, we're going to be designing the trainings to do for this summer. In January, we're going to have the Humanities 8th grade team. So from both sites, LMS and TDS, the 8th grade Humanities teams are going to be meeting with a teacher on special assignment to design what they need for their summer training. They're going to meet for 1 day in January to talk about what they need. They're also going to be getting an assessment on what they feel comfortable with and what they need. In February, the science teams from LMS and TDS at the 8th grade are going to be meeting with a teacher on special assignment for 1 day as well. They're going to be planning trainings as well as talking about what they need for the summer training. Since science already has laptop cards at the sites, on both sites, they're going to be the technology leaders for the site. So they're going to be the tech lead team for the district, for the 8th grade team. In March, we're going to have the math teams meet. April will be special ed, May will be languages, and June will be PE and electives. So every single content area will be meeting with a teacher of special assignment to design their needs. So the teachers of special assignment and the technology director will be going back and planning these summer trainings on what they think all teachers need in the 8th grade team so that when they start teaching on September, when kids walk into the class with their technology, they're going to know how to design lesson plans to be the most effective, to incorporate that into their lessons. So that is $10,000 for this first year. The $10,000 is going to go the year after and the year after to support sustainability as well as technology. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to be hiring another teacher for a special assignment, which will cost us $65,000 per year. So we're going to have $65,000 allocated for the next 3 years. So altogether, that comes to be $565,000 per year, or $1,695,000 over the next 3. So we have $490,000 for the next 3 years, taken from Prop L, $65,000 taken for the next 3 years from LCFF, and $10,000 for the next 3 years to support teacher training. So the goals we have is the first year is going to be 8th grade. Then the next year we're going to have 7th grade tech be integrated. So the next year all 7th graders will get their own device. Then the year after that all 6th graders will get their own device. We're going to have the 8th grade teams be able to lead the technology at the school and then be able to train the science teachers for the next year, the math teachers. They're all going to be working together in their communities, leading down. So it's a trickle-down effect of training, as well as using the teacher on special assignment to make sure that the technology gets incorporated in the right way. So our actionable goal and how we're going to be achieving this is we want to make sure that the teachers are well supported and they use the technology. We don't want to have teachers who every student shows up with a laptop and students keep their laptop in their backpack the whole class as a teacher teaches from a book. So our actionable goal is to make sure that we have the principals on site. We're going to have monthly meetings for the principals from both sites, TDS and LMS, to meet with the technology director and the tech steering committee to make sure that everything is going in the right direction. So they're going to be talking about what they need, what their teachers need, the trainings they think they need to be effective, and then planning professional learning communities, or PLCs, to make sure that the teachers can get supported and providing like a menu. So we can say we have developing a class blog, incorporating more word processing, or really trying to get up the SAMR level from going from substitution to redefinition of the classroom. And the leadership that we've developed, we've talked to Matt Thompson, Steve Moll, Melissa Olson, Steve Will. So we talked to all these principals, vice principals, the technology director, Dr. Laura Spencer, and we've all agreed that what we think is best is to have a supportive community. So what's happened in the primary grades is grades 2, 3, and 4 all have a foundation and they built from the center out. We want to do the same thing with the 8th grade on supporting one step at a time. So we want to support the 8th grade teachers to make sure that when the next year the 7th grade teachers get the rollout, that we can support them while they're going through it. So once the 8th graders have a year of training, everything will be dedicated to the 8th grade team and technology training. Then the next year, the 7th grade team. All of our training will go to the 7th grade team. Then the year after that, all to the 6th grade team. But the great thing that's going to happen is the 8th grade team will be able to help the 7th grade team. And then the 8th and the 7th will be able to help the 6th grade team. So we want to build on this fact that the teachers are helping teachers learn. The teachers are helping to develop better learnings. Since all content teams are going to be varied grade level, we're going to be allowing for the 8th grade teams to teach the younger teams on how to integrate their tech and how they did it. So it's going to be really cool to have this technology process and to make sure that everything is working. So that is kind of our plan and our policy. Some main questions are, why did we choose MacBook Airs? This is a question, me and Dr. Spencer talked about it, and the main thing we came up with, why did we go from iPads in primary to MacBook Airs in secondary? And we just thought about, when you go home at night, what do you want to access? So these are her words. What do you want to use? When you go home and you want to do some real work, what do you use? You use your laptop. We know that the processing power of an iPad is not to the equivalent that we need when we go into the secondary school. So that's one thing we really want to address, is having the processing power to make sure that all of these things that we are asking the students to do can be met. So once again, we have the LCFF funding, which is also going to be processing the purchase of a contract for a teacher on special assignment. Currently, we only have 2. So this third teacher on special assignment, for the first year, 50% of their time is just going to be dedicated to the 8th grade teams of both sites. We really want to incorporate any tech, and they're going to be able to answer all these questions. So the next thing going to happen is the next year, 75% of their time will be dedicated just to the secondary, and then the third year, 100% of their time will be dedicated just to the secondary sites, while the other 2 teachers on special assignment can focus just in the primary grades. And then the Prop L funding. Prop L funding has to be funded back. When we focus on technology, it has a 5-year maturity date, which means that after we purchase the technology the first year of $490,000, within 5 years, that has to be paid back. So we can do that with local tax dollars. We know that we can afford $590,000 coming from our budget, and then as we break that up, we know that we distribute the maturity date for the bond, and we thought that would be the most effective way on how to integrate it in a fiscally financial way, as making sure that we can find the software and technology assistance that we need to make sure that everything is included. Also, in regards to special education, with FAPE and IDEA, we want to make sure that the assistive technology in special education is top-notch as well. So every student in special ed will be getting assistive technology. It's going to come through Prop L as well on whatever they need, whether it be speech assessment or visual impairments or other types of technology and software to make sure that they can be assisted in whatever they need to make sure that they're most successful. So we have special ed covered, and we want to make sure that they really get the support that they need. We're also going to be having separate trainings for them on how they can have more assistive technology, and they're going to be meeting with some stakeholders in the steering committee after this first year to figure out what we can do, if we need to do a separate program for special ed after this, or if they're going to be operating on the same tiered level for integration as well. So that is our next 3-year plan. We're going to be supporting a 1-to-1 MacBook Air integration over the next 3 years, and that's going to be sustained. We have the leadership, which is developing the technology. We want to train the teachers on how to use their smartboards, have a 1-to-1 iPad ratio in their classroom, how to change their classrooms going from a substitution to a redefinition. We have the funding for it with Prop L. That was a huge, huge thing that allowed us to be able to do this. And we have the LCFF funding, which now allows us to pay for the teacher trainings and the teacher on special assignment. So that is our current plan for the next 3 years. It's a great plan. We look forward to implementing it, and we're glad that you have chosen for us to do this. Thank you, and have a great day.